We just finished up our last practice here. We still got some kids got finals tonight, but I've liked what the guys have done. I think they've had a good approach to it, and appreciate that, and get a chance for a lot of them to go home for Christmas, and then we'll leave the Monday. So, but it's been good, and like where they're at in the preparation, but still got to take full advantage of the week. One, enjoying the bowl experience, but two, making sure we're ready to play our best game. I think we're, it feels like we're healthier than going into the championship game, so that part's good. And I've liked the way they've worked.
How long did it take them to kind of turn the corner after that loss? That was a pretty disappointed group.
Yeah.
At what point did they kind of turn the corner?
I think it was, when they came back on the field, really we came back. The first week, the guys that played a lot didn't do anything. They had to get a couple workouts in, but didn't. And I think they were still feeling it then. And then that next Monday, Tuesday, they were running. And they were saying it felt good to start. You felt that they were going forward, I think. So I'd say it was a week. And by the time we came out, Thursday was when we had the whole team back. Like there was good energy. I felt like they were going forward. So I think it took, because you didn't, like in the season, you have to flip the switch. And there you didn't. And so it was, I think there's still a taste in their mouth, but I think they're definitely, I like where they're at that way. And I think they've, when you watch Western Michigan, you see, a team that can challenge you in a lot of different ways. And I think it grabs, the opponent can also grab you, and you start focusing on them, and you say, okay, we got to play well to give ourselves a chance.
You mentioned healthier, and looks like Alec James has been back at practice.
Mm-hmm.
I know you guys talk about if someone goes down, someone has to step up, but without him in that game and without Sheehy, what can at least James give you, or I don't know if you're going to get Sheehy back?
Well, I think both of them, give you a ton of energy. I think they're good football players, and they give you energy, to the team. And, they're guys that played a lot of snaps that I think were significant parts of the success. And so it's good having them. And I think there's a good chance with Connor, We'll see for sure, but and Alex doing more each day, and so that part's been good.
Coach, I wanted to ask you a couple questions about the jet sweep play. It seemed like last year you were using a fullback the first half of the year, maybe more often. And you still run out of a lot of different formations, but how has that play kind of evolved over the last 2 years, and do you think you're getting more out of it now than you did maybe at the beginning of 2015?
Formation, I think we're doing this same way. I'm having a hard time, like when you go and you practice it and you have them in, how many we ran in games. I have to go back and look what formations we're doing it. And last year we were hit and miss on it. I remember one was a big chunk in against Illinois. Alex took one. He had a couple, but we were inconsistent. I think we're just doing a better job of running the football, and I think that's where it's a good little change up for it.
So the success this year with it doesn't have to do with any kind of change in how you're running it?
No major overhaul, no.
You mentioned the opponent grabbing you on tape. A couple of your guys, if you think of Max Schools, you think of quarterback sometimes. Western Michigan has a really good wide receiver. But a couple of you guys have said their offensive line is more physical than they may have thought. Have you noticed that on tape?
Yeah, I think they're good O-line. Okay. And, I think what's helped is, they played two teams that we played. So you got a point of reference.
Okay.
And I think that they've got a good team. Really a lot of them show up. It's not just, I think the receiver's special, but it's not just him. The quarterback's really good. Running back's good. Defense, I think they got some guys that, I know we got, talking to scouts, they come in, where are you going next? This isn't during the season. When people talk about what Western was doing, and they've got good players, and I think they're playing at a really, you don't go undefeated and not have some confidence to it, well coached. So it wasn't a sell job you had to do. Let's put the tape on and you see it.
Bradrick had a lot more work the second half of the year. Is what he was able to do these last 6-7 games that give you more confidence in him to play a bigger role when Corey and Dari are going to be gone next year?
Haven't even gotten to next year, but I think it does. But hadn't even. I've loved his progression, and appreciated that.
Coach, we've talked about a guy like Leo Musso all season long. Now that he's a senior, he's at his final game of his college career. He's kind of experienced everything, injuries, position changes. Some final thoughts from you on Leo Musso in his career?
Well, I was around here when knew and followed Moose when he was in high school, and I think every guy's journey is different. But I'm really thankful to be around the last 2 years he's had, and he's a heck of a teammate, and he's had a really good year playing football. You know, players vote him team MVP. You know, there's a lot of things that he's done, and I think, you know, this has been said around here a long time that, you know, if you're going to have a good team, your seniors need to play their best football, and I think he would epitomize that.
Paul, what do you think Alex has learned this year, his first year on the field, going from a reserve to a starter to splitting time and getting a lot more reps, obviously?
Boy, there's so many lessons to be learned, and maybe lessons are reinforced. You know, ones that you know, but all of a sudden, yeah, okay. Easier said than done, maybe. You know, he's got to take all these experiences, finish out this year, obviously, but then, you know, the off season, that's him on the tape, you know, and it's not someone else, and he's got to take that and grow, and no different than any other guy, but boy, there's nothing like experience, and now that he's got it, I think he's got a lot of areas that he can build on that are positive, and a lot that he can get better at, you know, that are controllable for him.
Yeah, I know you're probably going to say he's got to grow in every area.
Mhm.
But there's got to be one that stands out where you say, look, if you're going to be a better quarterback, you got to do this better, that better.
There are, but I wouldn't tell you.
Okay. I didn't know.
But there are, yeah.
Coach, we haven't seen much of Chryst James, obviously, because he's not playing this year. But what does he do well? What are some?
He's a good running back, really is. And I think this year he's done it. I think he, Nick, Christian have done a good job of improving and working. And you know, Chris has got, you know, a lot of the physical skills that you'd like to have in the back. You know, he's got toughness and his ability to be a good inside runner, and he's also got really good feet. And I think this year he's progressed in some of the pass protection stuff. So it's, you know, the bowl prep, especially that early time, was really good for him. That group, right? He's one of that group, and I'm glad he's here.
There's been a couple of high-profile kids not playing in bowls,
Yep.
as you well know. Do you think the bowls in some ways have been devalued or almost rendered meaningless by whatever events are going on, whether it's playoffs or too many bowls or?
It's an interesting one because when you're in the middle of it and we're getting to be in it, you're like, how could this be devalued? You know, it's a huge, so you got to step back probably to assess that. And, you know, I think Coach Saban was talking about the playoffs. Was he talking about the playoffs and how that is? And then you go back to each guy. It's such an individual choice. And it's, haven't spent a lot of time thinking about it, but it's, I think it's probably you know what I mean? It's probably a lot of different factors going into it. And, you know, you've seen it even with guys, they're not just bowls are one, that's, you know, with Fournette and McCaffrey, probably the two leading in two very different backgrounds, so you can throw those stereotypes out. But then, you know, you guys know it, and we've all heard, you know, you wonder about guys even in their senior year, you know, and kind of have they cruised on it. And so I think that it's getting more play. But, geez, when you're in it, the bowls are huge. You know, to so many, I don't know the answer on that one. But I would guess that it's probably all the bunch of different factors.
At the risk of asking you to speak for the NC2A, your transfers can't make this trip, can they?
Correct.
Is it? I mean, you get to see them work every day in practice. Is that really fair to them to know that they've really been a part of this team at a certain level?
Yeah, I don't know what.
I don't know.
I don't know if how that correlates. What sparked that? Was
Yeah.
was there too many transfers and they wanted to
Yeah.
lessen it? I don't know how that, a lot of the other rules, we know why they're there.
Yeah.
You know, there's a face to them, so, but on that one, I don't get it.
How long, do you know how long that's been that way? Okay.
It's been a long time. I think since 02 was my first bowl.
Is it important for the Big Ten to have a good bowl season? I mean, does that help with recruiting or?
I think it's really important for the Badgers to have a good bowl.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
I think it's at the end, it's a talking point, and it's residual, but I think I've been lucky to be part of some where, you know, we won and the rest of the conference didn't, and you feel pretty good. And then been a part of where you're on the flip side and you don't feel good. I think that when you do it, and if you're part of it, if you have, like last year, there was talk about it and we won, so you felt good, and so maybe you'd bring that up. I don't think in recruiting, but I think it's so how the Badgers doing.